Hello. On behalf of the Department of Housing and Residential Life, thank you for joining us as we rapidly approach one of our more exciting processes for the year, continuing student room selection. My name is Ernesto Suarez, and I'm the Assistant Director of Housing Assignments, Access, and Accounts here within the Department of Housing and Residential Life. Before we get started, just wanted to take a moment to say that the information being provided here is catered to current students residing on campus for the spring 2026 semester who would like to participate in the room selection process. Information regarding housing assignments for new fall 2026 admitted students will be provided after the application process closes on May 15th. That's an entirely different process. Today, I'll be covering the room selection process in its entirety and what students and parents can expect. Some of the topics I'll be covering today include details about the application process, receiving an appointment time, selecting a room, what happens after room selection, and then covering any general questions before leaving you all with details on how to contact our office with any further questions. As a reminder, official HRL correspondence is sent to students through their university email address, and all students should check their email regularly for updates. Now, before the application process becomes available, here are some things that students and families can do to prepare ahead of time. Speaking with potential roommates and making sure that they're all on the same page about their interests, potential room types, and establishing multiple plans in the event that their preferred room option is unavailable, discussing as a family what options would or would not be considered during room selection, of course, visiting the website for regular updates and specific community details, and reviewing the room previewer on the housing portal to get a sense of our different residential areas and location of room spaces and room types within all of our different residential areas. The housing application for continuing students looking to participate in room selection will go live starting on Friday, February 9th, all the way through 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, February the 15th. Students will be notified on Wednesday, February the 4th, as to what their initial sign-up time for the application will be. In an effort to allow students to apply without any delays, we'll be staggering application access times to begin the process. Students will be able to access and submit an application at any time starting on their established date and time, all the way through until the 15th. Please keep in mind that the time in which an application is submitted plays no impact on a student's ability to participate in room selection, so there's no need to be discouraged if a student receives a later application time slot. These time slots are created in order to avoid too many students trying to access it at once, which can cause slowdowns and interruptions to service. So again, to reiterate, there's no priority for those who submit earlier in the application process versus later. So receiving a later time slot doesn't matter so long as a student submits their application by the deadline. All applications must be fully completed and submitted by 11:59 p.m. on February the 15th. No further changes can be made to an application at that time, and no further applicants will be accepted after the deadline. Once the application process concludes, our team will begin setting up the room selection process and notifying students of their appointment times to select a room. Appointment times for room selection are randomly generated to ensure a fair and equitable process for all students. All appointment times for room selection will be released on Monday, February the 16th. Room selection for the University Village will take place on Wednesday, February the 18th. Those students who qualify for UV housing will receive their appointment times in advance, but it's important to note that receiving an appointment time does not guarantee a room assignment, as demand is expected to exceed available spaces. Our team will regularly update the housing portal to reflect unavailable room types and will indicate when all rooms have been filled. Students unable to secure a space in the University Village will have the option to join a waitlist after the room selection process for all areas has concluded. Now, after the UV process ends, room selection for Lakeside Village and Eaton Residential College will take place on Friday, February the 20th. As with the University Village, receiving an appointment time does not guarantee a room assignment, but the housing portal will be updated regularly to reflect availability during the room selection period. Both Lakeside Village and Eaton Residential College room selection will be taking place concurrently. Now, for students who were able to select a space during room selection but would like to be considered for other rooms, they will be able to access the room change request form through the housing portal on Canelink to submit their request. Room changes are not guaranteed and would be dependent on availability. For students who are unable to secure a room during the room selection process, we'll be sending them an update on the waitlist opt-in process on Monday, March 2nd. Only students who were eligible to participate in room selection but were unable to select a space will have the ability to opt into that waitlist. Students will have until Sunday, March the 8th at 5 p.m. to opt into the waitlist. No one will be able to opt in after that day. As spaces become available due to cancellations that are submitted, our teams will work on quickly assigning students from the waitlist into any available spaces that they are eligible for. At that point, it would be unlikely that group requests would be accommodated based on availability of spaces, so waitlisted students would be considered on an individual basis, not as part of a roommate group as they may have initially indicated on their application. We expect to have the waitlist cleared by mid-July and would also encourage students to begin seeking off-campus housing options in the event that not enough spaces become available or if they do not want to wait long to get off the waitlist. We do offer resources on our website to assist students in seeking off-campus accommodations and also offer dedicated staff within the HRL Central Office that can assist students with any questions about navigating the off-campus housing market that they may have. Now we'll cover some of the more frequently asked questions our team receives as we approach the start of the housing application and room selection process. If I pay the $100 application fee but don't get housing, can it be refunded? Unfortunately, the $100 application fee is non-refundable. In the event that a student doesn't secure housing during room selection, they are invited to continue in the process by opting to join the waitlist once it opens. If they opt to join the waitlist by the deadline, we will continue to work with them in the weeks ahead as spaces become available. What's the latest that I can cancel my housing reservation? Students who participate in room selection who secure a space can cancel up until May 31st with just a $500 cancellation penalty. Cancellations received after that May 31st deadline would be subject to the full cost of housing for the semester unless that space can be filled with a new student. Now, students who are waitlisted and choose to cancel would not receive a cancellation penalty. Students who are assigned from the waitlist have 5 days to submit a cancellation request at no penalty before standard cancellation penalties would be applied. I don't know anyone to room with. Are there any opportunities to meet potential roommates? Absolutely. We will have our annual Roommate Finder event on Monday, January 26th, starting at 6 p.m. in the Lakeside Village Pavilion. Students will have an opportunity there to meet others looking for potential roommates at this event. They'll also have the opportunity to view other potential roommates through the housing application process in the housing portal. Programming note, we will also be hosting our housing application information session shortly after the end of the Roommate Finder event. Are there any advantages to having larger roommate groups? Yes, to an extent. Throughout all of our residential areas, there are far more four-bedroom units than there would be in two-bedroom units or in single units, so groups of four will have potentially more spaces from which to select from. However, we do not separate roommate groups once applications are fully submitted, so groups of four would not be able to split up and select a space in a two-bedroom unit or in single units should all four-bedroom spaces be selected already. Room selection will begin with 4 and 3 person roommate groups selecting first, then groups of two, and then finally those who are going in as individuals without a roommate group. I forgot to submit my application by the deadline. Is there anything I can do to be added in? Initially, not. We will work through all applications that were submitted on time before we begin considering any other groups to our process. Why do you collect my room preferences if I'm selecting my own space? In the event that you opt into the waitlist, our team will use those preferences to try and accommodate you in a requested space as much as possible. Those preferences aren't necessarily guaranteed, but in the event of multiple spaces being available, you would be considered for those that are similar to what you requested. When being assigned from the waitlist, the assignments team does its best to consider a room space priced based off of what your room preferences were. However, no guarantees can be made. If you are assigned to something outside of what you initially requested, you can always decline the offer and cancel within 5 days of being assigned at no penalty, or you can submit a request for a room change. Can I sign up for housing as a backup plan if I really want to go off campus? Now, we typically don't encourage students to use on-campus housing as a backup plan, as any request to cancel once housing has been guaranteed would be subject to cancellation penalties per the terms of the housing agreement. Opting to go off campus after a space has been secured would result in a penalty being assessed. What do you mean random appointment times? How are they established and how do they work within roommate groups? Now, appointment times will be generated randomly by our database system, with priority still being given based off of a roommate group size. Every student in the group would receive an appointment time, but only one student would need to go out there and make the selection for the group. Generally speaking, that would be the student with the earliest appointment time. Can I apply for on-campus housing if I'm currently residing off campus? Or can I request a roommate who is currently residing off campus? So only students that are residing within on-campus housing during the spring 2026 semester are eligible to submit a housing application and participate in the room selection process. Current off-campus students, with the exception of those participating in a sanctioned study abroad opportunity, are unable to apply. Current students would also not be able to request off-campus students as roommates. Who is eligible for what areas, and why are Lakeside Village and Eaton room selection taking place at the same time? Students who will have 60 or more completed credits by the start of the fall semester, or those who have resided on campus for 4 semesters or more and meet satisfactory academic progress, will be eligible to reside in the University Village. Rising sophomores or students who do not meet the necessary credit requirements for the University Village will be eligible for either Lakeside Village or Eaton Residential College. Now, keep in mind that students are only eligible for selection in one particular group. So students who are qualified for the University Village will not be eligible for room selection in Lakeside or Eaton, and those conversely who qualify for Lakeside and Eaton will not be eligible to participate in the room selection process for UV. Lakeside Village and Eaton room selection also do take place concurrently, since those populations are eligible for both areas. How does studying abroad in the spring impact my ability to live on campus in the fall? Students who are participating in a approved study abroad opportunity for the spring semester and also lived on campus with us in the fall will be eligible to participate in room selection as if they were residing on campus. Study abroad students aren't guaranteed housing, but they would be eligible to participate like any other eligible on campus student would. How do room selection times work within groups? Every student in the group would receive an appointment time, but only one student would need to go and make the selection for the group. Generally speaking, that would be the student with the earliest appointment time. I'm a spring 2026 admitted student, and because the university could not guarantee housing for me for the spring, I opted for off campus housing. Am I eligible to apply for on campus housing for the 2026 2027 academic year? We would allow those students to participate in the process if they reach out to us to make their request. However, those students would not automatically have housing application access, since they would be considered an off campus student at that time. Those students can email housinghelp@miami.edu during the application period in order to state their case and make their request, and a member of our team will review and grant access to the housing application at that time. Those students would still need to ensure that they have their application submitted prior to the 11:59 p.m. deadline on February the 15th in order to remain eligible to participate in room selection. That's all the time we have here for today. But before we go, we would like to encourage students and parents to check our website regularly for further updates as they become available. You can also submit a case if you have any further questions that were not covered here today by emailing housinghelp@miami.edu and including the student's name and C number, and a member of our team will reach back out to you within 2 to 3 business days. We thank you for your time today. Take care and go Canes.